In the previous video, we talked about the first declension, said some general things about the first declension, and then went through examples of the first declension singular. And we looked at these nouns. The one noun I've added here is aqua, water. And we won't go through these in detail now. We go through these in the previous video. Here I have added one noun, tenebrae, which is it's in the plural, means darkness, and it's only in plural form. So I've added that here. And then we remember that there are some place names and some proper names that are, that decline along with the first declension. They follow the declensions of the first declension. So we looked at the singular declensions and we saw philia, nominative case, filii, genitive, filii dative, filiam, accusative, philia, ablative, right? And then now we look at the plural. And so the nominative, filii. So one thing to notice is that the genitive singular, the dative singular, and the nominative plural all have the same endings. And so we're getting a little more insight into the fact that Latin requires us to pay attention. When we see that first declension ending AE, we have to be able to figure out, are we looking at the genitive singular, the dative singular, or the nominative plural? So the nominative plural, filii, the genitive, filiarum, datus, filiis, accusative, filias, ablative, filiis, right? And in a previous video, we talk about what each of these cases means: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. So as we just said, notice that the genitive and the dative singular and the nominative plural have the same ending. So if we see filii, F-I-L-I-A-E, then it could mean possession in the singular, so the house of the daughter, or the daughter's house, daughter there being in the genitive. It could mean to or for the daughter, give the book to the daughter. If that sentence were in Latin, book would be in the accusative case because it's receiving the direct action, so it's the direct object, and then the daughter is receiving the next level of action, so to say, and is the indirect object. And so in that case, daughter is in the dative case. Or we could say that the daughters are reading a book. So the daughters are doing the action of the verb, and so then that would be in the nominative plural. Okay, so we have these nouns again, and let's look at some practice sentences. Then up top you can see we have the singular cases and the plural cases. We'll review a few sentences that we looked at in the previous video. Baptizo in aqua, baptizare, first conjugation verb, in aqua, ablative case, baptizo, I baptize. Remember, the ablative case tells us how the action of the verb is being carried out. In this case, baptizing is being carried out in aqua, ablative case. Vitam aeternam possidebo. Possidebo, I will possess, right? I will possess life, vita. In the accusative case, vitam, because vitam is receiving the action of being possessed. And then aeternam, the adjective there is, it follows the same declension. And we'll talk about that a bit down the road. Venit in synagogam. So he came in, we would translate that as into the synagogue. He came into the synagogue. Synagogam, accusative case, the synagogue is receiving the action of being walked into. Magnificat, from magnificare, to glorify, to magnify. In this case, the third person singular, he, she, or it, magnifies. Anima mea. So anima, soul, mea, my soul magnifies Dominum, the Lord. anima, soul, magnificat. He, she, it magnifies or glorifies. Well, what does? Well, the anima. My soul magnifies Dominum, the Lord. So anima there is in the nominative case. Now let's look at some examples of the plural. In vias congregaverunt. In vias congregaverunt. You look over in the vocabulary, congrego, congregare, right? They to gather. In this case, it means they gathered. In vias congregaverunt. Vias, look above, it's plural, accusative ending as. They gathered in vias, in the road, right? In the streets, plural. And so why would that be in the accusative? Well, the idea is that, well, some people are gathering. And what receives the action of that gathering? The idea is the streets, right? The streets or the roads are receiving the action of the gatherings, of the people gathering. In vias congregaverunt. So vias there, accusative, plural. Legistis in scripturis. Scriptura, let's look back. Yeah, there it is in our vocabulary. Scriptura, Holy Scripture, writing. Legistis in this case means you, plural, have read in scripturis. So it's is ending, it's plural, right? So it looks like it would be the ablative case, right? You read, you have read in scripturis. So you have read, well, there's the plural, there's the verb, I'm sorry, legistis, you have read in scripturis. And so the ablative there gives us information about how the verb has been carried out. What has been read? The scripture, right? And here in the plural, you have read in the scriptures. In the scriptures. And so that would be the ablative case. Amant cathedras in synagogas. Amant, amare, good first conjugation verb there. To love. Nt ending, third person plural. They love. What do they love? Cathedras in synagogas. Well, let's go back and look. Cathedra, chairs, seats, pulpits, right, in the plural. So, and it's got the as ending, so it is the accusative case. They love chairs or seats. And so you see cathedra, plural, is receiving the action of being loved. So they, that is those people, love seats. And where do they love the seats? They love the seats in the synagogues, in synagogas, right? They love the seats in synagogas, in synagogas. So I think that would be the ablative case. They love seats in synagogas, right? So you have that preposition preceding synagogue in the plural there. And so often that's going to give us the ablative, but it also tells us about how the verb of loving the seats is being carried out, right? They love particular seats in particular places. I think we're looking at the ablative case there. 8, dosebat in synagogas, right? Dosebat in synagogas. He was teaching in the synagogues. Same thing. The synagogas there, that's telling us about how the action of the verb is getting done. Ablative plural. Et erunt, erunt, meaning there will be. Et erunt, and there will be signa, signs, in sole. So I don't have erunt or signa in the vocabulary, but erunt, and there will be plural, there will be signs in sole. So, you know, that's stuff we haven't learned yet. So at this point you just have to take my word for it. Et erunt, and there will be signa, signs in sole, in the sun. And now we get to the first declension. Et luna, et stellis, et in terris, right? Et luna. So we have the singular there, and now the luna is not doing the action, so it can't be the nominative case. It has to be the ablative case, right? Luna is not doing the action, and so luna is in the ablative case. Et stellis, so, and there will be signs in the sun, and then we understand, and in the moon, and in the stars. Now we're looking at plural, I ascending, ablative. So, and in the stars, and in terris. Let's go back and look. Terra, earth, ground, and in the, let me see what would be the best translation here, and in countries and in all regions of the earth, something like that. You've got to do some translating there. So there will be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and in the, I think we'd translate that like all, throughout the earth, something like that. But terris there in the ablative plural. Ambulat in tenebris. Ambulat in tenebris. Ambulare, first conjugation verb, to walk. Ambulat, T ending, third person singular, present. He, she, or it walks in tenebris. And remember, tenebrae, first declension noun, but only in plural, right? So a literal translation would be, he, she, or it walks in darknesses. But of course in English we would just say darkness, right? Well, ambula, that's the verb, he, she, or it walks. And I think then we're looking at the ablative case because it tells us how the action of that verb is getting done, right? Well, we're walking in darkness. Et mensas subvertit. He, she, or it overturned. We know from the context, we can look it up, that it's a he. He overturned, subverted. He overturned. What did he overturn? He overturned, up at the top there, mensa, table, banquet. I think in this case it makes more sense to go with table, and it ends with as. So we're looking at the accusative case here, and tables he overturned. Or better English should be, and he overturned tables. You can see that mensa is, or that the mensas, the plural, tables are receiving the action of being overturned. Well, if you put together what we've done thus far with the first conjugation, with the first declension, singular and plural, you can see that there's some detail to pay attention to. And of course, as time goes on and we learn more, there's more to pay attention to. That's why it's so important when we're learning a language to give it, my recommendation is to give it 10 or 15 minutes a day. Some people will want to do more. Perhaps some people will want to do less, although I don't know that it's possible to do well in a language doing much less than that if we really want to make progress. Having studied a number of languages, my recommendation is give it 10 or 15 minutes a day, be consistent, review well, be consistent in reviewing, and as time goes on, what initially looks like a complication that might be very difficult, after a while you just get used to it, and that's the process, that's the joy of learning, right? Things that previously seemed challenging seem less challenging once we've done our work and reviewed things well and learned what we set out to learn.